Greetings and welcome to From the Basement. In this episode, we're going to take a look at how to detail our dungeon. Now, detailing can be a very deep rabbit hole to go down. You can spend hours tweaking the placement of this rock, moving this basket over there, trying to get just the perfect look and feel for your adventure. You probably don't want to sit here and watch me do this for several hours, so we're going to do this a little bit in the quick and dirty method. So to do this, we are going to use the populate feature. To find this, make sure first that you're in layout mode, and I'm going to right click on a room and select populate. And it's going to zoom me in here, and you can kind of sort of see that there's some things have changed now. I'm going to come over here, right click, populate. You can see it a little bit better in that room. Right click, populate, right click, populate. And you don't really see much in layout mode, but if I switch to detail mode, pow. Now you can see I've got all sorts of stuff in here. I do want to take a quick moment here to point out our budgets tab, or our budgets window over here. There are limits as to what you can place inside a quest. And your budgets tab will show you how close you are to getting to that limit. Now for the detail objects, one detail object does not equal one budget point. Some detail objects are very cheap, some detail objects are very expensive. Just depends on how many polygons, light shades, all sorts of technical mumbo jumbo. Just keep an eye on this. Unless you are trying to do a truly massive level, or you're trying to use an outdoor level to hand construct like an entire castle or something, you're probably going to be okay for these detail limits. It's unfortunately quite easy to hit the limit on our actor and NPCs. We won't hit that for this video, but you will need to keep an eye on those two especially. And so all of these things are the detail objects that we put in here. Just sort of to show, if I right click and say clear room, this is what the room looks like before I add in the detail objects. Right click, populate, and I get the thing. It's always the same, by the way. There's no use in right click and populating more than once. It's going to be the same set. Now notice I'm not doing this for the corridor pieces. Generally speaking, when you try to populate a corridor piece, this is what you're going to see. There's no object set to actually populate the corridors with. I have yet to actually find a corridor that you can populate. So, doesn't hurt to try, but keep in mind the corridors, you're pretty much doing those by hand. So, speaking of, how do we add things in? Well, over here in our asset library, if we go to details, and let's change it to any, we will have a list of every single detail that we have available to us. Again, that's way too large to effectively thumb through. If I want to say stick to just the details that belong to the dungeon object, I can select dungeon, and I can see the various parts that I have available to me. I can also type in text to filter it out. So I want some rubble or rock to block this off. So let's see what I get. I type in rubble. And I've got any selected on the kit. And this is a much more manageable pile of stuff to look at. Now, when you select on details, you're going to be told how big it is. So this collapsed hallway is 77 feet by 39 feet in width and height, or width and breadth, I should say, and 34 feet tall. So that's a pretty massive chunk of rock. This one's tamer, 37 by 55 and 34 feet tall, as opposed to, say, the rubble pile, which is pretty big in size, 25 by 30, but it's only 7 feet tall. This isn't going to block anything off. So I'm going to grab this, and I'm going to left-click, drag this over. Now, to move this around, I just left-click, drag on that little icon, and I can use the arrow keys to rotate. It will show you in this little cone of light what the game considers front to be. So I'm going to try to position this right here. And then dungeon, pile, rubble, large, corner. I got 2 of these, so let's drag one of them over here. And let's drag the other one over here. Sort of give this a collapsed feel right here. Okay. Now the other thing I'm going to want to do, even though this is kind of starting to work with encounters a little bit, I want to show how I can place encounters. This is currently my list of story encounters, and I'll definitely go into these in much greater depth in the next video. But for now, I'm just going to real quick grab a kobold mix, drag it over here into this room, and I've got 3 kobolds now that I can position inside this room. But positioning from this 2D view can be very difficult, because remember, this is a 3D game. We've got height involved in this, and rotations and things that just don't really come across well in a 2D view. So let's hit the play map and see what this looks like in 3D view. Okay, and we're back in game, and you know what, I seriously need to get some clothes on this poor guy. There we go. No longer in my underwear. Alright, so now this is our editor view. I'm going to take a little bit more time this time than I did last time in explaining things. You've got the normal game view, and you can play through here just like you can in the regular game. All of your skills work the same. You have items. You can press C to bring up your character sheet. All sorts of stuff that you can use to just play the game, test your game. Now, you do have some couple of abilities up here at the top. Now, the sort of the normal way of freeing your mouse cursor is to press the Alt key. Collapse chat here. Or not. Okay. Press the Alt key to get the arrow. And you might think, okay, well, I can come up here and use this to click on things up here. Now, things like full heal and kill target and reset map, it'll work. But for the combo boxes, notice I can't select anything. In order to select those combo box options, you have to hit escape. And now I can select the combo boxes. So keep that in mind. The normal combat, untargetable, and vulnerable. Normal combat means combat's going to work as it would in the real game. The mobs have aggro radius. Once you get within that radius, they will attack you. You can die. You'll take damage, so on and so forth. Invulnerable means that mobs are going to react to you as usual, but you will not take damage. Untargetable means that you don't exist. Mobs will not react to you. Now, this is very good when you're running through your dungeons looking at layout. Keep in mind, however, that certain quest conditions can only be triggered if you are targetable. If you set yourself to untargetable, some of your quest conditions may not fire. You've got to keep that in mind. For now, I want to leave this as untargetable because I don't want those kobolds attacking me. Now, make sure you do return to game, by the way, not return to Foundry, because return to Foundry will take you back to the main editor. So now I can look at this and say, okay, well, this room looks pretty good. Let's move on to our rocks in the corridor. And okay, actually that looks pretty good. But let's say I want to tweak the position on this a little bit. I mean, there's a little bit of a gap there. I don't really want to see that gap going through there. So I'm going to do, I'm going to hit escape, and I'm going to go into edit mode. Now once I hit edit mode, you notice I get all these little white boxes popping up everywhere. If I click on one, it's going to take me into a mode where I can drag around the object in 3D. Now, things will go through walls, so if I drag this big old rock thing, and start walking, by the way, to get out of that mode, you notice that it sort of bled through and doesn't look all that good. I'm going to come back over here, grab it again. And this is floor drag. This option right here, it keeps it locked to the floor or ceiling. It's a very useful drag mode, but it doesn't let you rotate. So for that, I can click on rotate. Notice it also has the hotkey of E. And so once you get used to it, the Q for dragging it along the axes, E for rotation, and then R to get it back into the drag mode. It'll become second nature after a while. Another useful thing you can do is, well, for one, walk through rocks. By the way, if you do this, remember that you're on the wrong side of the rock. I can grab this, I can do a Control-C, Control-V, and now I've pasted a brand new copy in here to try to really make sure that I block this off. And then here's where, and I gotta make myself stop, here's where I'm talking about that rabbit hole. I can spend a lot of time tweaking just this one stupid little rock. See, I've got a little piece of rock sticking out there. So, either I got to position these better, or I need to, put something here to hide this rock. So, rabbit hole, let's get away from it. Alright, another very useful thing about this is you can place things in the game while you're in this mode. So let's say I want to have these kobolds huddled around a campfire. Oh, I can hit escape. Remember to use escape. I can come to details and I can say, let's see here, camp. Here we go. Here is a campfire pit. Ooh, and we also have an FX for a campfire, so I can drag in the campfire pits. Now, and I apologize, I said the wrong thing. For dragging in detail objects, you need the Alt key, not escape. It's inconsistent, and this is a fairly recent change, so I'm still getting used to the new key presses myself. And it's kind of buried in there, so yeah, I'm going to grab this, pull it up slowly. Alright, that looks good. Hit Alt, grab campfire, drag this in. Now, I can't see the FX. That is one problem here. You can't see FX in edit mode. To see the FX, I'm going to have to leave edit mode. Now, when you do this, it's going to have to rebuild the map. And when it rebuilds the map, it resets everything. So if you've played halfway through your quest, notice a change, enter edit mode, tweak it, leave edit mode, you're going to have to replay through your entire quest. So keep that in mind. Generally speaking, you don't want to be trying to do edits and quest progression testing at the same time. Okay, and here we go. And okay, yeah, that looks, I don't know, that looks like the kobolds are going to have some crispy charcoal stew there. I'm not quite sure that's meant for that tiny little pot, but we'll leave that alone. And now I can enter into edit mode again, and I can grab the kobolds and position them such that they are huddled around the campfire. Oops. Alright, there we go. Let's move this guy over here. Angle him a little bit. Grab him. Okay. And position him. Okay. Yeah, it looks pretty good. So, moving on. There's our little hallway. Definitely could use some more detail work there, but we'll leave that alone for now. And then we come here and, okay, you know what, I'm just going to grab this and move it in a little bit. Now notice I can't get it any further back because now it thinks I'm trying to place it on the wall. So I'm going to have to use Q and use the axes drags to bring it in. Oops. And perhaps an E for rotating it a little bit here. There we go. That looks pretty good on that one. Ugh, that one looks horrible. Alright. Definitely need to do some rotating on this. And yeah, I probably want to still move it back some. There we go. Now, there is one last feature that I haven't shown yet that's important to use, but there's no real need for me to use it right now, and that is the free camera mode. If I hit escape and come up here to normal movement, I can change to free camera, and what that does is it basically makes my character disappear, and I can fly. It is a good way for being able to very rapidly traverse your dungeon to an extent. It is going to it sometimes gets a little bit twitchy in trying to control the flight. Yep, see, here's my spawn point. So I can fly around the dungeon and see what's going on. Now this is very useful for, like, precision placement of things where you just simply can't get a good angle, because I can still grab and maneuver things. Oh yeah, and if I want to delete it, I can move it there. So this is a very useful mode to go around and look at things. So I didn't want to skip over that. Okay, so yeah, there's a lot more detail work that we could do to this, but in the interest of getting these videos moving on, we are going to stop here and move on to how to set up our encounters. And so, until the next video.